today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Jessica Phillips, and she's in the upcoming book as a collaborative writer in Stories of the Goddess, Divine Frequency Keepers with Radhaa Publishing House. And this is a special time in humanity where worldwide women are in a quest to rediscover their inner magic. In years of suppression, we are breaking free and liberating ourselves to claim our rightful place in this world and to honor as the keepers of our ancestral heritage and uphold the family and tribes that we hold dear to our hearts and reclaim all the bloodlines rightful place as visionaries and leaders. And so the divine feminine is calling upon us to serve as her champions, using our hearts and our wombs to create a better world with love and integrity. So Jessica, I want to welcome you. It's such an honor to have you here to harness the goddess's power and to be awakened in a time where it's so needed. So before we get started, like I said, I would love to welcome you and just take a moment to honor your wisdom and your vulnerability that you share with us in this beautiful collaborative book.
Oh, thank you. Yes, hello. So grateful to be here chatting with you.
Yes, and it's such an honor to connect with like-minded women across the world and such a beautiful topic. So with that being said, initially when you began this project with Radhaa Publishing House, what inspired you to contribute to the Stories of the Goddess book, and how did you choose the topic or theme for your particular chapter?
So I connected with Radhaa on a yoga teacher training course, which bonded us for life last summer. And I heard about Radha's work, and she mentioned about her collaborative books, and my little ears pricked up, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. That sounds like something I would want to do. And I've been focusing a lot on inner child healing last year. And one of my biggest joys as a little girl was to read and write. I just wanted to live in every library that I went into. And as I got older, I kind of disconnected from that a lot, as we all do usually. And yeah, I just found myself wanting to write for joy and pleasure and for no other reason than just for little me that was calling out to do so. So Radhaa kind of encouraged me to jump on board, and the theme and topic, Stories of the Goddess, it felt so timely because I'd recently started reconnecting with the goddess archetypes. And the goddesses just kept coming in with signs and synchronicities kind of into my field. And just before we started the process of writing the chapter, I went on a retreat in Mykonos, and unbeknownst to me, part of the retreat was going on this kind of boat tour around the islands, and we stopped at Delos Island, which is actually the birthplace of Artemis, the goddess that I've written about. And so it just felt so magic, so divine. And I don't feel like I chose her. I feel like she came and chose me and said, I'm the one that's going to be written about in this chapter. This is who you've been embodying. And just on reflection, I didn't realize how much I'd been embodying her throughout my life without even realizing. And I'd always had like an affiliation with kind of the wild woman, huntress archetypes, which Artemis very much is. And so it all kind of just synchronistically fell into place.
Wow, that's so symbolic too. I feel like a lot of the times when the goddess archetypes come through and work through us, that's kind of how it happens. It's so subtle, but very like, hi, I'm here to work with you. And the synchronicities just show up. So that's absolutely beautiful that you were open and receiving that information, especially at the time it was happening in real time, you know, the chapter being presented, and you took action, which is very important because, as you know, receiving information and then taking action are quite two different things. So congratulations on implementing and moving forward with that. I'm so proud of you to have you here with us and shine this, you know, wisdom that you're bringing through in this chapter.
Thank you. Yeah. Feeling proud too.
So embodying the essence of Artemis and the divine feminine energy, how has this impacted your life and the work that you currently do?
So I feel like divine feminine to me is kind of just being yourself. And Artemis as well, she's very protective. She's also very nurturing. And I think for me, it's not necessarily what we do in the world, it's how we do it. And there's, for me, space holding is a huge thing. Safe space holding where people feel free to be themselves. And I think that nurturing kind of nature, to bring that into whether it's your work or just your everyday life, how you're interacting with a stranger on the street. I think it's kind of the basics, but it's also very profound because so many people don't feel safe to be themselves in so many spaces, and myself included, from different containers that I've personally been in. So I think that would be the biggest thing for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. As far as your journey and the connection with the goddess, can you tell us a little bit more about that? I know that you had some synchronicities prior, but how has it been a little bit after and during the process of your writing?
So again, I think that kind of fierce protector that Artemis embodies. On reflection, I realized in my life, having been through various periods of being a carer for loved ones, but also kind of not leaving yourself behind and getting a balance with boundaries with that. I kind of learned that the hard way. And now, again, it was very synchronistic. As I met Radha, as I found out about the book, I had an incident in my life to do with the heart, an incident of the heart. And I really had to draw on Artemis and on divine feminine and stand up for myself, uphold my boundaries, and also use my voice, which is a huge thing for me. And I'm trying to think what else. Just pulling on that within and just knowing kind of levels of deserving and levels of worthiness. That's been a huge thing for me, which through my work and my connection with the spiral, which I mentioned in the chapter as well, that's like an emotional clearing technique, which really helped me embody and shed, more than anything, shed and clear all those blocks that were stopping me from recognizing and realizing my levels of worthiness, levels of deserving, and to kind of not settle.
Yeah. What you're saying, it's very empowering, and that's so important. You know, a lot of times you don't maybe feel or are being perceived as empowered, but it's an energy that we uphold, and you kind of pull it into you. So yeah, that's kudos to you. Like I said before, I mean, it's definitely, it can be challenging to step into something that maybe you have a lot of mixed thoughts about, but at the end of the day, it's the empowerment. You are empowered. And this book, I feel there's a common theme amongst many of the individuals, and I'm kind of having this epiphany in real time, which is synchronistic to what I'm about to say. But a lot of what we share in this book is happening in real time in our personal lives. So we are no different than you, or you are no different than us. And so we're all here to anchor in this energy. So I'm so excited for you. It's such an exciting time, and to see what's going to come for you and others after the months to come. It's an energy that's it's a cycle, the divine
it's
feminine.
A big energy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah
Can you share with us a little bit on how you see the divine feminine creating a better world for humanity, and what would that look like to you?
Yeah, so this is a concept, like recently, I think there's so much kind of content and noise out there now about the divine feminine and the divine masculine. I actually myself had to take a step back from it in recent months, because it's like, oh, act this way, do this. This is feminine, this is masculine. Don't do too much of that. And it's a lot of head noise. And I think for me, I just felt like, whoa, I just need to breathe. I just need to be. We obviously all have feminine and masculine within all of us, whatever gender we associate with. And I think the pendulum is swinging. We've obviously been in a very patriarchal world society, and now it's swinging to kind of the matriarch. But for me personally, I feel like it's it's swinging to the other extreme, which I don't feel is the answer. And I mean, it's part of the journey, but I feel like the pendulum needs to come back and just fall and balance in between, in the middle for all of us. And so for me, I just feel like it's being rewritten right now. So completely honestly and transparently, it's actually a concept that I've been really, really struggling with. Like, am I in my feminine? Am I in my masculine? And again, I try and get out of my head about it and just drop into my body and just be and follow my own intuition of how I want to kind of act and be in each moment. And yeah, I feel like it's being rewritten, and I feel like sharing our stories and the collaborative books, I think they're a really important part of it. But other than that, it is a concept that I'm personally kind of finding hard to put words to, because it's just changing so much right now. We're in it. And I feel like the dust almost needs to settle with the swing between extremes. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the truth of my perception of where we're currently at on this journey.
I can appreciate your authenticity on how you feel and what you're thinking, but it's definitely important for all, no matter, like you said, the energy of the divine, the energy of the divine feminine and masculine. For, in a way, I understand what you're saying, because it creates the safe space to, okay, let's let our swords down, and let's, I'm going to allow you to feel what you're going to feel, and you're going to feel what, and it won't always, energy is always, moving. And I like, that's a very interesting perspective. And I feel that as long as we're working towards humanity to evolve, that's the key. So very interesting perspective. I love that.
Sure. Yeah, I feel for me it's about the equality, but it's about the divine feminine rising, but not at the demise of the divine masculine, because I feel like society can get into that sometimes, and I'm just very mindful that the patriarchal system, it hasn't always actually benefited men, and it's or the masculine. So I think that's a misconception from what I've kind of come to understand personally. And so it's important for us to be heard and to support one another and to have our voice, and the feminine to be heard. But not for the feminine to rise up to a point of being so in their masculine in order to be heard, because that kind of defeats the object.
Yeah.
So it's a softer, gentler approach. Well, I feel for me anyway, which is just my kind of how I like to go about things.
Interesting. And this is why I like collaborative books, because it gives a different perspective on something I may have never thought of, because this is something that I innately kind of already figured as much so, but I never thought to bring it to, oh, there's someone out there that could see that perspective. And for me, I just kind of like, I'm a Libra, so for me, I'm always shooting for that balance. And I love that you brought that up. That's absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people will be able to relate to what you're saying, and as do I. And I feel that it's just an empowering time for humanity in general. We are sovereign beings, and that's what we're working to support ultimately. And at least the true meaning of freedom, right? with creator souls.
And well, just on that as well, like, because in the book, kind of the theme that I go with is very much that you can embody both codes of like the empath and the sensitive being, but also the passionate advocate and standing up for yourself. And again, that's kind of maybe what, and in basic terms, would be the feminine and the masculine. And it's like you can have both, and you can be in both. Yeah.
So what do you hope readers will take away from your chapter, specifically in the Stories of the Goddess?
I hope like a sense of just knowing that it's safe to be themselves here now, even if that's most likely going against kind of the grain of society and the labels and the boxes that we've all been kind of pushed or forced into or felt like we need to fit into throughout our lives. And yeah, that sense of it's okay to be a paradox and a contradiction, and to stand out and to to know that no matter what struggles they've been through or they're going through or that are to come, because that's all part of life and this human journey, that there is a way through and that they're not alone. And yeah, there is a way through and that they're exactly where they need to be. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Now, your experience with Radhaa Publishing House, I'm kind of curious to hear how that was for you because overall the experience it was sort of a leadership workshop as well. They offer a lot of assistance during the process of a collaborative book. So, how do you feel that your overall experience of being a part of the Stories of the Goddess on this book project with Radhaa Publishing, how was that for you and what did you experience?
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of opportunities, a lot of support. For me personally, during the few months, I was going very inward, kind of hibernation mode, going inward, doing a lot of healing. I was actually kind of feeling my way through and healing what I've actually written on, because I felt like I needed to process a lot of it before I could actually write about it, with it being so kind of raw and fresh. And I wanted to be able to do so from kind of a more balanced and neutral space. So I actually personally kind of took a step back. I wasn't able to join all the calls for kind of personal reasons and then time zone differences. So for me, it was great to know that the support was there and that there was opportunities to kind of share your gifts and talents with the community. Just the timing with where I was at, I didn't get to fully kind of utilize that this time around. But just knowing it was there, and also for me, just the patience that I received from yourself and from Radhaa while I was kind of going through my own process, and the resistance and blocks that I was personally facing, and also never wanting to force words that weren't ready to come through, trusting and knowing that they were going to come through, but just needing that little bit of extra kind of grace and time, and receiving that and the flexibility. That honestly, yeah, that meant the world to me. So that was a huge thing for me, to not feel like super pressured or it has to be done now. And yeah, because like I mentioned to you previously, like there's been a lot of kind of childhood triggers that have come up for me through just even the writing process, which have been huge on a personal level for me to kind of sit with and feel through and overcome. So even that itself, before the chapter's even out there, like that's huge for me. So yeah, thank you so much.
Wow, yeah, I can appreciate your transparency on that and just your overall honesty, like standing in your integrity of like, what you feel and what you need to work on. And absolutely no judgment. I definitely feel that you have a natural way of that's a form of leadership because you're teaching people how to treat you too, right? So you're able to really kind of stand your boundaries while still feeling deeply, and that could be hard for empaths. So kudos to you, sister, for doing that.
Thanks. For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got to the point in my life where I finally feel okay to say and to live by. I'd rather be kind of fiercely repelled or rejected from experiences or situations or people for being myself than kind of being accepted in for someone I'm not, or for a half-hearted version of me, or for something that doesn't feel authentic. Like all the kind of like modalities and healing work that I've done on and for myself in recent years, my system won't let me kind of go down the inauthentic route anymore. And I'm so grateful. And it's been such a journey getting here.
See, you fit right in. This is why I love Radhaa Publishing House, because it's a very heart-centered style of how they do business, and it's sincerely, in my opinion, very tailored to people like you and I. And because there's a lot of us out there, we're birthing this new world, whatever you want to call it, our evolution into humanity, so we can show people the way and say, hey, it's okay, like this, let's work on this. There's so much to be said, but what I'm getting to is that this is a perfect fit for individuals like yourself and those who are ready to bring that out and no longer put up what society has taught them to do. So I love the whole experience on from your perspective, and from seeing it from my perspective as well. So Now with Radhaa Publishing House, did you feel that this is a company that could also work with other people too that are not so much like arts? Like, what are your feelings on the business aspect of it?
Mm. Um, so again, kind of going back to my biggest joy was always writing, and so my dream has always been to write books eventually, and to be able to be involved with a collaborative book where you're contributing a chapter, that for me personally felt so much more kind of manageable and doable, and to have the kind of community and sisterhood so that you're all kind of in it together and going through the ups and downs of the process. That for me was just like the perfect starting place. It just kind of felt like a gift that dropped into my lap when I met Radha. So yeah, I think for people who are wanting to write but don't maybe really know where to start or how to go about it, then yeah, 100%. And I think no matter where you are on your journey, I feel like it would be supportive because it's accepting people for wherever they're at. I
Yeah,
always get that kind of sense. So yeah.
beautifully said. Thank you. Now, what do you have any information that I can link down below? Where do you have special offerings that you provide, or how can people find you?
So I'm kind of most present at the minute on Instagram. So my tag is at with open wings. And I am just having a new website built. It's underway. So I'm hoping it will be ready around the time of the pre-sale of the book at the end of this month. So end of March, start of April. But my offerings will be kind of listed there. There's many to come, but currently I am focusing on the spiral, which is a 7-stage emotional clearing journey that we do over 9 weeks. I've done so many healing modalities, therapies, all sorts over the last kind of 6-7 years, and the spiral for me is the one that had the most profound effects and long-lasting changes in my life. And so I trained in it, got certified in it the year after, and now I would love to share that with kind of other people, particularly the highly sensitive empaths out there, for them to reclaim their superpower.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's such a, oh gosh, what a great way to end this interview. So I'll be sure to link all the information down below. When the time comes, just let me know so I can update on our end. And yes, the Stories of the Goddess Divine Frequency Keepers, guys, will be available at the end of March. Do look out for all the interviews and our book release. So thank you once again. It's such an honor to collaborate with you, connect, and please do reach out to Jessica if you'd like, and Radhaa Publishing House if you have any questions. We're happy to be of service, guys.